Can I ask you a question?
Okay, please.
Is this the remake of The Longest Day?
Wait a minute.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
Obviously, he's never timed himself.
Good shot. I can see.
You open that door and
I
it's
can
right
see.
here.
Okay.
Today we're honoring Audie Murphy, who was the most decorated man in World War II, America's most decorated soldier, who was a man who had a third-grade education, but who was a crack shot because he used to go out and hunt for squirrels and things for dinner. He lived in a shack. He's a sharecropper's son, dirt poor, who became a legend in the war and became a hero to many people once he started making movies. He signed a contract at Universal International. He had done a John Huston film, Red Badge of Courage, which seemed like a great film for him to do. One of his early movies was a bit part in a film with Alan Ladd, Beyond Glory. And he played a West Point cadet where he almost went, but he decided to go to Hollywood instead when James Cagney invited him to come and live in a spare house that Cagney had on his property. Cagney paid him a stipend to be there to train him. He said when Audie first arrived, he walked like a clodhopper, and Cagney was shocked at what he looked like. He looked like he was a high school kid. Fortunately for all of us, the camera loved Audie Murphy. He had the charisma, really did. And he had the charm, and plus he had the emotion for the steely-eyed intensity that a Western needed. And he became the last performer to star in any studio's Western series, color B+ Westerns. And it was the last series film to be done by any studio, and those were terrific movies. They made a fortune for the studio, and Universal International took Audie's book to hell and back and turned it into a feature film that became Universal's highest grossing movie ever. So they loved him, and the audience loved him too.
Audie Murphy, the kid who on the field of battle won every decoration for valor his country had to give, to become the most decorated soldier for combat action in the military history of the United States.
You did 2 of Audie Murphy's movies, and I know he was a friend of yours as well. What was it like the first time you met him, knowing that he was the world's most decorated soldier and the hero of World War II?
Well, first of all, I was very honored to be working with this hero, and I liked Audie's work, his honesty. It was something very, very dear to me because I lost relatives in the war, and this war hero was something very special. And to work with him would be very special. And Audie was very, very soft-spoken. Our introduction was very, very subdued. You know, there's nothing much to talk about except doing our work. We had very little exchange about our work because we worked with a wonderful director, William Witney, and I'm so pleased his son is here this afternoon. My 2 favorite Western directors were Bud Bettiger and William Witney.
All right,
yeah,
Bud.
They were so special. We had conversation. He was very soft-spoken, very, very sensitive. Well, he's the only human being in the world I could define in one word: feline, a cat. He moved very, very slowly. His gestures were very, very economical. His approach was very soft to people, very surreptitious. He never came into your face about anything. He sort of warmed up to you that way. And I watched him and observed him. And one day, I was just checking my six-shooter. So we were in between shots, and he took my coat, and just like that, it was like grabbing a woman's hand. And if I may, this way, yeah. And he turned it like that, and went like this. His hands were so quick, and I have big hands, and I have thick hands, twice as thick as his, and his were like a lady's hand. It was so smooth. By the time I'd pulled the trigger, he'd have shot me 4 times. You know? His hands were so loose, and the tendons and everything were perfect for a sniper. I mean, he had all the equipment God could give him. Because he took his finger and just went beaming. And I looked at him and I said, well, I can understand why how he survived. Because he was just like a cat. I'd be having conversations with him. Somebody would come to my shoulder off the other side. And I'd look that way for a second and turn around, he's gone. Where did he go? You know, he's just so smooth and what have you. And we never had one word about interpretation, or you do this, or do you mind doing that, and so forth. Because, again, working with Bill Witney was such a joy. And it just, Audie and I got along superbly.
Must be $1 million in gold on those pack horses.
Did he have much of a sense of humor?
Oh, great sense of humor. Terrific. We had an actor on the show that liked to flip his gun and do all of that sort of stuff. And we had an audience of 300 or 400 people in the Mojave Desert, and they were roped off, and he would entertain them and go by and flip his gun and so forth. So Audie and I would watch him, observe him, and so forth. So one day, he got one of these fake rattlesnakes, you know? Got a fake rattlesnake, and there was one of those kind of snakes that had a little spring in it, and it jumped. And evidently, the actor, I won't mention his name.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Audie had enough of it. You know, he was just looking and said, well, this is too much. Surreptitiously, he left, went around and very softly and approached him. He put this rattlesnake there while he had his back turned, the actor, and he was flipping around and turned, and whack, this snake jumped like that. The actor, he jumped and ran away. He was frightened to death of snakes. And we had the biggest laugh. I never saw anybody run so fast in my life. And Audie was there. He enjoyed it as much as everybody else.
Look out!
Did he ever bring up any of his war experiences?
No, absolutely not. And I would never ask him.
Mm-hmm.
I would never ask him, Rob. I had so much respect for him, and he was just so, to me, he was one of my heroes on the screen and off the screen. And I would never infringe on his privacy. He was a very private person, and we had a wonderful common sense of humor. We were on location in Apache Junction in that area, Gold Canyon, you know, up there in Arizona. Both of us had adjacent rooms, and we're on the ground floor near the pool. And I like to sleep with the window open at night, and so did Audie. Audie had it open and so forth. And about 6 o'clock in the morning, I wasn't sleeping too well that night, and I could hear a splash, this beautiful splash, seemed like like a professional did it, into the water. And then I went and looked at the window. I'll be darned. The most beautiful strokes I've ever seen in my life. Buster Crabbe is doing his exercises. 6 o'clock every morning. So we went, I got up and had breakfast, early breakfast. So 7 o'clock, I'm walking into the breakfast room. There's Audie. I said, Audie, yeah, get much sleep? He said, no, and we both had a later call. And he said, no, he said, you won't believe this. He said, I had the window open, so forth. He said, and I heard the splash, and there was Buster doing his laps. So we had a 6 o'clock call every morning, whether we liked it or not. Buster was doing his laps. Always good to see you, Rob.
Well, thank you, sir. It's always nice to see you too. And I happened to have screened Winterhawk again the other night. And I remember when I first saw it, it was at a drive-in theater in Orlando, Florida. The theater was packed. All the cars were there. And after the movie was over, the general manager of the drive-in theater came on with the microphone, and we're listening to it on our little thing stuck on the window. Says, "Thank you all for coming. This is a phenomenal success. We're holding it over for 2 more weeks," which in drive-in theaters, that never happened. It was huge. It was something about it clicked with audiences.
I made the marriage with the character to use the elements which the Native Americans did. The weather, the wind, the moon, the sun, the earth, and the water, everything that surrounded them was such an intricate part of their life and existence.
Well, the character was so regal, the way it was filmed, with you so proud on your horse. It seemed like most of the film you were sitting on that horse, but the slow motion photography with the horses galloping through the snow and galloping through the rivers with the water splashing up with the sun hitting it, is just magnificent.
It was an incredible animal, Rob. He was half thoroughbred and half Arabian, which means he had the stamina of an Arabian and the speed of a racehorse.
Well, it pranced like an Arabian.
What I did with him, we had a wonderful relationship. The moment I got on the horse, and we have a great stunt man too that rode Bud Davis, who did an excellent job. But he rode differently. Bud rode a little forward. I rode a little bit back, a little upright to maintain that dignity and that nobility and the marriage between the animal and me. So when he came into the encampment in the beginning to exchange the furs with the white man, I gave him his head, let him move freely. Then I saw that I had open spaces, and I just short-reined him. Just took the rein and short-reined him this way, and kicked him a little bit, just a wee bit. And he didn't know whether I wanted to turn him, go forward, or go backwards, you see. So I maintained that hold on him. He kicked him just a little bit and still maintained my physical presence on the animal moving forward so that you weren't aware of anything that was going on. But I got him to prance. He was just beautiful. Now, we never rehearsed that. I never rehearsed anything with that animal. And it was by accident they found the animal. We couldn't find a horse that was, that Charles B. Pierce, our director, producer, writer, wanted for me to have. Charlie was very concerned. He said, geez, I haven't seen anything. I don't want to, just a black horse or, sorrel or whatever. He said, I want something that's him, that the two of them have a nice simpatico and a rapport and physically look great together. And all of us, he was just leaving one of the rangers, he said to the ranger, he said, no, I don't like, no, there's nothing here. He said, what is that off in the back that looked like a black and white, looked like an appy back there? He said, is that horse available? He said, yeah. Okay, oh, well, that's what I'm looking for. But he was about 17 hands, and they had to run the horse. The rangers were up at 5 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock every morning to run this animal down
to tire him out so that he would be more relaxed and not as powerful and spirited. I got a phone call after the film, about a year after the film, and I had this premonition about the I call the horse Winterhawk, and I was really concerned about anyone who got on the horse and for the horse. I'll be darned, about a year after we finished the film, and this call about 2 o'clock in the morning. Michael, oh, is that you, Charlie? Yeah. He said, I got some sad news. I said, what? What's wrong? You know, he said we had to put Winterhawk down. Oh, I said, what? Boy, I woke up fast. I said, Charlie, he said, yeah. He said, you were right. He said, I had a friend of mine get on the horse. The horse threw him. He said, he was a good rider. I said, he wasn't a great rider, right? He said, yeah, he threw him, and he grabbed the horse by the end of the rein. Well, you couldn't grab this horse by the end of the reins after he threw. He'd throw an elephant off. This horse was so powerful. And he held him at the end of the rein. I said, yeah, can't hold him. You got to get him up on the bridle. You know that, Charlie. What happened? He said, I know this guy thought he can ride him and so forth. And he said he kept throwing his head back and forth, and he hit a pole and broke his neck, and we had to shoot him. He was down. So that was really was the last time I spoke with Charlie.
I'm going to read an email that came to me. And it says, hi, Rob. Sorry I can't make it to your Audie Murphy salute. I worked with Audie in To Hell and Back and remained friends with him for many years afterward. Sharing the recreation of some of his exploits on film was a mind-boggling experience, especially when I stopped to realize that he really did all of those heroic deeds on the battlefield. Audie was a great hero, but he was also a good and loyal friend. Regards, Brett Halsey.